Do you need encouragement? Do you need encouragement to turn tragedies into your own triumphant life story? If so, this podcast is for you. Listen to powerful guests who have persevered through challenges so you can gain strength to build your championship life. The host of Professor of Perseverance podcast, Dr. James Purdue.
Hey, welcome to the Professor of Perseverance podcast. I'm Dr. James Purdue, the Professor of Perseverance himself. Today, we've got a topic here. A guy, he considers himself a beacon of resiliency and transformation. All right, he's overcome childhood trauma, business setbacks, suicidal attempts, and a near-death experience in an earthquake. I've never been in an earthquake. I never felt the ground moving yet. So this will be something to hear from him. He's gone on to surpass all the hardships and create his own app to help people here. So let's get going and get started here. Welcome to the show, Alan Cox.
Hello, very pleased to be here.
Yes, sir. I'm glad you're here and everything like this. And on the other side of the world there for me in New Zealand. So we're glad you're here and glad all this internet stuff works.
Absolutely. It's pretty incredible, isn't it, what can take place nowadays?
I tell you what, I tell people, of course, I'm in a wheelchair. I got my neck broke 40 years ago. I said, I'm glad I'm living in this time where we can do stuff like this. And 40 years earlier when they didn't have anything.
Yeah. I think the thing that I'm most proud of or pleased about is when you go to pay for something and there's no money in your account, and right there on your phone you can go and transfer it without in about 10 seconds. That's the thing I love.
Yeah. So, all right, Alan, appreciate you being here. So let's go and what I normally tell people, you get started with your story and where you think we need to begin, and I'll hop in with you and give some questions. And if anybody pops in with us, I'll give them opportunity to ask questions.
So you want me to give my story?
Yeah, go ahead and put us where what's going on and what happened and what got you here.
Yep. So like being 56 years of age now, it's a very long, it's quite a long story. I guess I can give a.
I was going to say, give us what we call here the Reader's Digest version.
Yeah, I'll give you the Reader's Digest version, and you can you can drill into any areas that you want to. No problem.
Go. Okay.
So, I guess my struggles probably started, at a time when I didn't really know I was having struggles. When I was a very young child, there was a lot of trauma in my very, very early years. I think I was a child that wasn't really expected, and my mum in particular probably had a hard time with, it was a real kind of problem having a child out of wedlock and all that kind of stuff. So I think that caused a lot of problems that kind of got taken out on me. And there was, a reasonable amount of abuse in my childhood as well. That led to me, really having like social issues at school, really struggling through school. And then I think when I eventually became, like, in quotes, an adult, and you start having the responsibilities of life on top of you as well as everything else, I think that's when the cracks really started to open, and I started, getting real problems with things like depression. And looking back, because my resilience was so low when some life events happened to me, I had a new life kind of carved out for me in New Zealand that I was really looking forward to, and that kind of looked like it was going to be taken away from me because I had quite a bad back injury at work.
Mm-hmm.
And at a time when you really want the support of your employer, they went and made me redundant, and that led to me developing a chronic pain condition. Wasn't able to walk for about a year. Anyway, and during that time there was some really low points where there was unfortunately suicide attempts, and thank God they didn't succeed.
Mm-hmm.
I eventually got out to New Zealand to start a new life, and I don't know if you remember the years when the internet was just really starting to kind of take off, but at a time when I already had 2 children and my wife was pregnant with our 3rd child, and people said I was crazy, but I decided to go out on my own, start my own consultancy in the web era, and just as soon as I did that, there was the .com crash. So I had a wife at home with looking after the kids, no income, and then suddenly things went pear-shaped for me, and that kind of really put a strain on things. Just as I was recovering from that, there was the global financial crisis, which kind of like another thing that was like a major impact on my life. And again, serious bouts of depression and what have you. And then yep, we're talking about around 2012. I had managed to kind of get myself back on my feet. I had a company with 12 people, which has its own strains as well. And yeah, we really felt like we were starting to go places, right? And then I went out to lunch one day, walk into a local sushi shop, and then the earthquake hit, which was it was an experience I wouldn't kind of put on anyone, and I came very close to being killed in that event, and I guess at a time when other people in a similar situation would have had to have taken time off work and to kind of psychologically recover.
Mm-hmm.
I had to basically jump into being a leader because our office was basically trashed. We couldn't get access to our servers. We had customers that, while empathetic, they wanted their stuff done,
Oh yeah.
And the business environment in New Zealand just completely changed after the earthquakes. A lot of resources were reassigned. We was doing a lot of work with like councils and government that got cancelled. Anyway, that ended up in me losing the business. I then had a major mental breakdown that was again a very horrendous experience. But then that was basically the worst time of my life, really.
Yeah.
The prognosis wasn't good. And then just by chance, like an event happened that kind of turned the lights on for me and sent me down a new path. And that new path has led to me not only making a recovery, but basically making a transformation to a place where I think most average people are nowhere near. And
Mm-hmm.
the rewards that now gives me are just amazing. And I've now basically dedicated my life to kind of getting as many people as I can to a similar position. And part of that mission was the creation of our app Everyellow, which I'm glad to say is helping many people around the world.
There we go. Awesome. So, yes, early when you talk about your childhood and being born out, you say wedlock, and yeah, there's a little stigma. I don't know if it's quite as bad today. Of course, back then, like I said, you're 56, I'm 59. and even back further is really unthought of. But yeah, even when kids, when we get that little trauma, a lot of trauma going on, yeah, and then when we get these little wins in life, we kind of feel like we don't deserve it because we're not brought up to know that's good, and
Mm,
we don't deserve it and stuff.
mm,
And so from there, now, yeah, you went through several, and again, I've never been through an earthquake. I had an opportunity to go through an earthquake. Now, the reason I say that is back in 1989, I was working at a travel agency, and there were some guys going to the San Francisco Giants World Series, and they were looking for an extra person to go with them.
mm,
And I'm in a wheelchair, and I was thinking it'd be great to go to the World Series because I'm a baseball guy, and I was going, but I don't want to put them out with them having to push me everywhere because I didn't
mm,
know the people, but they were encouraging. But I
mm.
backed out. Sure enough, they were in that earthquake in the World Series,
Oh, yeah.
and I'm going. I'm glad I missed that boat on
Mm,
that part. So,
right. Yeah.
for anybody who's been through that, especially when it's real bad,
Mm,
wow. I mean, like I
mm,
said, I've never had my feet even shook that I know of. So, but
yeah.
you've been through you say 56, that's still a short time compared to life, living to be 80 and 90, and some people's reaching that big century mark.
Mm.
What do you think has helped you persevere through all this? What has helped you look on the other side and say, I know there's better. I know I need to keep going. I know I need to get out of this.
Um, I think at the time you don't. In my case, at least, I didn't really see myself as persevering. I mean, I remember telling like a counselor my whole story once, and
Mm-hmm.
and she like laughed and said, like, I'm surprised you're even alive, Alan. And I think it's just maybe a human trait that you're born to survive, right? And in my case, at least, I don't think I consciously thought, "Come on, Alan, keep on going." It was more that I had responsibility. I had my children, my family, and that
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing.
There's two other women I had interviewed, and they said were thinking. They didn't actually attempt, but thinking suicide. And both of them said, like you just said here, the children, she couldn't leave that burden for them to grow up and know their mother had done that.
Yeah,
And so essentially the children saved her life,
yeah,
their life. So yeah, I agree with you. If I don't have any children, I don't have anything, but I would think I would not want to leave that on their conscious to think and remember the last thing of dad is he left us behind like this. So
yeah, absolutely. And I
hey, and
think,
if anybody, before we go any further, if anybody having any type of suicidal thoughts and everything like that, be sure we learned this in just 2 episodes ago. A gentleman was telling us you dial 988, 988, and that'll get you to a suicide helpline and or you can text 988, and it's that simple. You don't have to do it 1-800 whatever 988. If you get any suicidal thoughts, anything, please reach out to somebody and let them help you. All right, Alan. Um, so now you've been through what we would consider the worst, and we know life comes and goes, and we're going to get hit with something later on. But you have built up this I can beat this thing repertoire here, mentality, and you just better prepare yourself for the next thing.
yeah. The so what basically happened for me was, like, I was in this position where mentally, you're just in this like grey fog. You just
Mm-hmm.
you're not even really thinking properly anymore, right? And I use the analogy of being in like a pitch black tunnel, not even knowing which way was out, whether there even was a way out, right? And what happened either by chance or whatever it is, a program came on TV, and I would although it's a bit dated, I would highly recommend that anyone, whatever your situation, watches it. And it's for free on YouTube, right? It's a BBC program called "The Truth About Depression," right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, before I watched that program, I had this sense that I'm just broken. That's just the way it is. I will always be like this, and I don't want to live like this, right? But what that program showed me was a few things that were really, really important, right? It showed me that having lived a long time with, low resilience, depression, or whatever, all these things mixed up,
Mm-hmm.
what it showed me is that there are actually physical changes that go on in your brain, like your hippocampus would be shrunk by 20-30%, and chemicals are doing all different things that they should be.
Oh yeah.
Um, and because if you've been like this for a long time, because of this thing called neuroplasticity, your brain's kind of operating system or computer program would have been structured in a way that basically sees the world as far worse and harmful than what it actually is, and that the way you think about things, the way you feel about things, are all a result of this kind of programming that's been laid down over many years. So first of all, that was like a thunderbolt of realization that thought, oh my God, it's not just me being broken. Like, there is actually this is as real as someone having diabetes or
Mm-hmm.
something like that,
Oh yes.
right?
Oh yes.
And secondly, what it also showed, and by the way, there's like, I'm quite a visual person, and it showed these amazing kind of graphics and computer generated stuff that really showed how all of this stuff works. And what it also showed me is all of this stuff, even your shrunken hippocampus, can all come back to normal relatively quickly if you do the right things. And so, going back to that analogy of being in this black tunnel, a light went on, right? It's like I could see this faint, like I didn't suddenly go from being seriously unwell to well, but it was like a spark came on that said, there is a way out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that really is what sent me on my journey, and I just started taking an interest in learning about, we really should have an education about our minds at school, and we don't, right? We learn more about, social science, history, and religion than we do about the most important thing, to our well-being, right? And so I at the time I couldn't even read very well, so I went to YouTube and I started, searching for things like neuroplasticity, hippocampus, amygdala, and you go on this you go down this positive rabbit hole, if you like, where you just suddenly start understanding yourself. And I think one of the biggest problems a lot of us have is we don't understand ourselves, and we look at our life experience as something much more darker and bleaker than what it actually is.
Oh yeah. Two other podcasts I had, two different people made the same comment basically, and you're just suggesting is that we need to know our own bodies better than the doctor does. So many of us listen what the doctor says is going on instead of
Mm.
us telling him what's going on
Yeah.
or telling her what's going on and how we're feeling, not feeling. And so, we need to know ourselves better than our own physicians. And so, like you said, we need to know more about our own physiology, makeup to
Yeah.
learn what we can do to help ourselves. And the body, if caught in time, because there is that point of no return in some things, if caught in time, it can go back and heal itself, like you said.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the marvelous thing for me is that on the one hand, it might feel that it's just too big and too much. Like there's just so much to learn. And like
Hmm.
I've been on this path for 10 years now, and I'm still learning new things every day, right? But the way I look at it is that, like, wherever you are in your journey, like even if things are kind of as bad as they can be, every single time you learn something, and it basically is building you up that one extra piece, and you
Hmm.
really feel it, like every time you understand a new concept, like let's just look at an example. Let's say you learn about how to not take offense, for example, right? And
Hmm.
you can there's drawings from psychology or stoicism or whatever, but just that one thing, that's one thing out of 10,000 things that you can learn. But just learning that one thing can have an amazing impact, right?
Oh, yeah.
You feel like you've got an like I kind of see it like you've got this armor of, and it's made up of 1,000 pieces of kind of miniature superpowers, right? And every nugget of every new tool that you learn, every new understanding that you get, you're just adding an extra superpower, right? So it's not a big thing at all. You just go on a path that you feel yourself moving towards a better place.
I'm thinking of Legos.
Mm.
Every piece of Lego is building that armor, for your protection.
Yeah,
So
exactly
that's
right.
you think of a little piece of Papa Lego in place, and then building on that. Yeah, so that's what I'm thinking. Sweet. Yeah, this is I'm like you. The mind's got a lot. We know a lot about the mind, but there's so much we don't know, and the more we can continue. And like I said, we don't have to learn all this in 10 minutes. It's taking you 10 years, to get as
Mm.
far as you, and you're still not done. And so
Mm.
so don't get overwhelmed by trying to do too much. Start with something little with you, something that maybe there's something big and you want to change. And again, that change may take 8 months to
Mm.
learn what you need to do.
Mm.
So I agree with you. We need to try and improve ourselves as much as we can throughout life. We'll be happier, healthier, and our own family at least like us better. Maybe not nobody else in the world, but at least our own family would. I hope.
Yeah. And if I could just add there that when I had my mental breakdown, and just like I didn't know what a mental breakdown was, but
Hmm.
basically, um, it's when your mind is in such a kind of risky position that the brain actually shuts down parts of your body, if you like, that it doesn't really need. It needs to recover. So like in my case, I couldn't walk very far. I could only function awake for about 2 hours at a time,
Hmm.
all these kinds of things. Anyway, I had been told that it'd be at least 1 year before I could think about entering back into the workplace, even part-time.
Yeah.
Now, I just want to get back to that kind of journey and like address that like lifelong learning kind of thing. Just by going on that, well, after watching that TV program and then starting to, instead of say doom scrolling on social media, I would be watching YouTube videos and things like that, and there's these wonderful kind of motivational compilations that like they mix up all these motivational quotes from people like Wayne Dyer and Anthony Robbins, all these different people, to lovely music and sound. You start listening to this stuff, right? And I basically got back to work full time, not part time, full time within 3 months, right? And so, I just want to kind of get that across, that you can if you do the right things, if you plant the right, if you feed your mind with the right food and content, you can make actually a huge transformation within a very short period of time, and then the rest is just kind of layers of icing on the cake. That's the way I see it.
Yeah. And Alan, I attempted, it's been nearly 15 years ago, but I attempted suicide 3 times in 3 days, how bad I wanted out. And they found me the last time sucking carbon monoxide out of my van with the garage door shut, and was in the hospital for 7 weeks. Here's what I had to learn from all this is, like you're talking about, feed your mind, not only just the right nutrients, but also the right content there.
Yeah.
What I had to learn from them, because when I was growing up, if you heard of someone talk to a psychiatrist or a psychologist, we'd go, man, they're crazy. We're crazy. Well, after you live through a suicide attempt, they make you see psychiatrists or psychologists. And it was the best thing for me because it made me understand, as an athlete, I tried to keep my body in the best physical peak that I could to participate. Wherein we also need to have our minds in the right peak, and that's taking in the correct content, the correct nutrients, opening up to get some of this garbage out of your head to someone you can trust from there. So I had to learn that, what we call the hard way. And so that's, I would tell people, don't be afraid to open up to somebody.
Yeah.
Find somebody that you can trust that's not going to stab you in the back, a preacher, minister, a coach, a mentor, again, a counselor, psychologist, psychiatrist, your spouse, somebody that that you can trust, and their goal is to find the best help for you as possible too.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
Yeah, that's great. All right, Alan, hey, this has been good. Let's go ahead and talk a little bit, which is Everyellow you're talking about. You mentioned earlier, and I see it up here on your screen. And tell us a little bit about this app that you've come up with.
Yeah, so the problem, what I unfortunately discovered. So when I was going through, various parts of my life, I tried various apps, right? Meditation apps and all different kinds of mental well-being apps, and none of them worked for me. And I thought that was my problem, right? But I later discovered, and anyone can go out and Google this. I later discovered there's been multiple research studies done on like these, plethora of mental well-being apps, and there's no evidence that any of them actually work in any meaningful way.
Okay.
And I also discovered that over 96% of them are deleted within the first 2 weeks, right? And that was a real shock for me, because I'm thinking there's literally, billions of people in the world that could do with a boost in their mental well-being, but these tools aren't helping them. So look, that's really why I kind of wanted to do something about it. I wanted to create an app that was really, really easy, was enjoyable. This is the big thing. You need to enjoy to spend time with it, and it needs to work. So basically, what Everyellow it works on a principle called mental conditioning, right? So we get conditioned mentally all throughout our lives, mostly in a negative way, right?
Exactly.
But we reverse that. We use a framework from positive psychology for the content, and you basically download the app. It's free. You can use it for free forever, by the way, and you answer some questions so that we get to understand like where you're at with your mental well-being. Like everyone has different areas of their mental well-being that they're strong or weak in. And then to use the app, you just open it, press play. You don't have to think, right? You just press play, and every time you press play, we auto generate these really nice sessions for you, which combine narrated messages like coaching, guidance, motivation, a lot with a backdrop of music and sound. And you can customize that experience to you. You can turn down the voice. You can change the music to be,
Okay.
peaceful piano or lo-fi hip hop or whatever your thing is. And yeah, it really works. Like we've gone through over a year of validation testing, and yeah, over 78% of people that use the app report significant shift in their mental well-being within a week of using it. So
Well,
that's kind of how it works.
you're personally branding it to that person. Again, if they can
Yes,
change their music, they can change how how high or low they want the voice or the sound to be, and yeah, so they give them a little personal. And as well as I do, when you're just in the normal exercise routine, if you find something boring, you're not going to stick with it long. So you need
that's
to
right.
get an exercise that you find fun. You'll stay with it longer. So this app that you're talking about, find it more again where it's personal to the people. They're liable to hang into it a little longer.
Yeah, and it's not only personal in terms of the how the experience, but your. Let me just quickly say this: your mental well-being is there's a number of pillars that all combine to form your overall well-being. If you think of like the pillars holding up this big mantle, right? Your mantle is your overall well-being, but then like one pillar is experiencing positive relationships. Another one is growth and achievement. Another one, so there's about 10 of these, right? And everyone will have strengths and weaknesses that are
Yeah.
completely different to anyone else. So it's kind of you kind of have like a well-being profile that is uniquely you. So what a lot of people say is like the app really feels like it knows them. Like we know your personality type, so we deliver content that is right for you. It's right for so it's personal. It's personalized in a very deep way. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think it's. I mean, I think it's good overall. Yeah, I think it's amazing with technology. You're allowed to do that for each person.
Yeah.
With the technology. So we mentioned earlier how technology has really moved along, and I'm glad for it. So, all right, Alan. Hey, I appreciate our time together, and Evergreen. Anybody get a chance, go get you an Evergreen app. Give it a shot. Give it a try. So, Alan, go ahead and tell us your social medias and how to go about your app.
Yeah. So on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, we're basically at Everyellow app, and that so that's where we are. You can go to our website everyellow.com. The app is available for free in both of the app stores. So if you want to just go and download the app now, you can go and grab it for free. And that's where we are. Yeah.
All right, now you said you can use it for free. Is there a upcharge later if somebody, do you get more if you pay for something.
Yeah.
Because
So
you said they can use it for free forever. I'm just wondering
yeah, of course.
okay,
So there's a premium version that has additional content and features.
yeah,
But basically, the way we operate, we're what we call an impact enterprise. So our primary mandate is to help as many millions of people as we can. Profit is secondary, whereas that's actually reverse in
well,
most
you
other companies.
still got to feed the family.
Yeah. What my message would be is if money is a problem, then the free version of the app is still comprehensive. And by the way, all of the testing that we've done with our research studies, they've all been done with the free version of the app, right? If you are in a position to pay, then obviously, please do so, because that really helps us deliver more for everybody.
Exactly. Good. All right, Alan. Well, we're going to finish off here. I'm glad we got to meet and talk with you.
No, it's been wonderful.
You've been I'm glad I've got to meet the Alan that's gone through the rough spot, and I'm getting to see the shiny side of the diamond now than the rough pressured coal at the beginning. So I'm glad we've got to meet. So, Alan, if you don't mind, there's people that are hurting and struggling out there today, and if you can leave us with a positive message, that'd be awesome, man.
Yeah. So I think for me, one of the big learnings that I always had is that wherever you're at, if you basically think of yourself as, in a smothered in grey clouds, or even if you feel like you're in the middle of a tornado or whatever, if you think of that in the real world, right, above that there is still the sun, the stars, the clear sky, and those things always pass, right? And I would basically urge people to always understand that what they're going through, they are far from alone. There are literally hundreds of thousands of people in the world that are going through exactly what you are. Probably the people around you, if you're anything like me, the people around you don't really understand at all what you're going through. They don't understand at all how to deal with you. And don't take that personally, just accept that they weren't given a training in this either, right? And so, please just try to take the perspective of, look, this is a shit time that I'm going through right now, but it will pass. But not only will it pass, this experience will actually make me better than if I'd never been here. I will become a more valuable person and have more purpose in my life once all this passes, and once I get on that journey to well-being and fulfillment. It's definitely out there for you. And the thing I would probably add to people that kind of are thinking about self-harm or whatever is, it doesn't matter what your beliefs are, what your faith is, you absolutely have no idea. No one has any idea about the rules of the universe, right? You could actually be making the worst mistake of your life by actually going through with something like that. And not only that, you'll be it's not just, I know that people attempt things like this to lash out at other people, but there are literally dozens, or if not hundreds, of people that actually will be seriously impacted by you not being here. You are actually loved and liked by many more people than you even can imagine right now.
Amen, brother. I appreciate it. Hey, I like it when you say, when you're going through the shit show, we don't get a guideline. We don't get a book of how to handle this to go through it. And like you said, don't get mad if someone in your life doesn't understand it. It's because they don't understand it. They're not through it. And I like that advice. That was real good. So,
Yeah.
all right, Alan, thank you for being here. Hey, you better go back and get you an Everyellow app and give it a try, see what happens and everything. Alan, thank you for being here. We're going to move on. Hey, everybody else, I'm Dr. James Purdue, the Professor of Perseverance. Thank you for coming on the Professor of Perseverance podcast. Do something today, tomorrow, something next week that's going to help you persevere past your